Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the WM32 Football Podcast. We are back with our From the Stands series where we speak to different fans from different football clubs to get their perspective about their club. And I am delighted to be joined by, I'm gonna say it, YouTube royalty right now. I am in the presence of YouTube royalty in none other than Albert Umoh from Albert JTV, Uncle Albert, as I like to call him. And we are going to be talking all things from the red half of North London. For those people that don't know me and are watching for the very first time, I am on the lily white side of North London. So rivalry aside tonight, we're putting that to bed. And we're going to talk all things on the red half of North London. First of all, Albert, how are you, my man?
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be on, mate. I appreciate the invite on this Sunday afternoon. It's nice and chilled, mate. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, definitely. It should be an absolute cracker. And as I said, Albert, you are on the red half of North London representing. But how long has your association with Arsenal been, and how long has it been for?
Oh, gotta show my age now. So I say this to people and they're like, "What?" Like, Listen, I'm old enough to remember Arsenal winning league titles before the start of the Premier League. So that's a big giveaway to how old I am. But yeah, so my first memories of Arsenal, very young, but I do remember it very well. And obviously 88, 89, winning the league title at Anfield, which is folklore history. But so that's where it first started, to be fair.
Yeah, no, I know you often say when it comes to telling people how old you are 21 plus VAT. I remember that particular line. And yeah, it's one that always tickles me. So yeah, Albert, like you say, 89, obviously before the whole shebang of the Premier League. I think some people forget that football actually existed before 1992 and before the Premier League was even there. But so sort of how old were you then, Albert, when it comes to sort of first games? Do you have any sort of memories of the first game that you went to?
So the thing that I always say to people is, as a football fan, your journey starts at very different points for very different reasons. So I was unfortunate. I didn't get to go to Highbury. I didn't really particularly have anyone that I knew that really liked football, to be honest, or to even take me, to be fair. So I miss that generation, which is a shame in terms of not going to the ground, because you hear so many stories. I've seen some fantastic players play for Arsenal. Your Mersons, Ian Wrights, Kevin Campbell's, Tony Adams, part of the famous back five. Listen, going back, Kevin Richardson, for people, you might need to Google that, but he's a top player, trust me. Ask Kevin Campbell. But yeah, my journey actually started in terms of going to the games in the Emirates era. My first game was, if I remember, was Arsenal played Birmingham. It was on my sister's birthday, actually, in 2008. Adebayor scored that. Yeah, Adebayor played in that game. Leon Ridgewell for Birmingham City played in that game. Like, it's Miko Forsell. So that's a while ago, man. Yeah. So we drew 1-1. It was actually, I remember it was actually a present from my ex-partner at the time, which is quite a nice thing to do. She kept it secret, did pretty well. The tickets weren't cheap then either, to be fair, people. So don't complain about now. It's been going on for a number of years. So that was actually my first game at the Emirates era. So I've been going really since 2008.
Nice. And yeah, so 1-1 against Birmingham. Emmanuel Adebayor on the score sheet. Yeah, what a guy. Divided opinion, shall we say. And for those people that are tuning in, if you do have a question for Uncle Albert, get them in the comments, and we will go through them at some point as well. But yeah, like I say, make sure you get your questions in for Albert, because this man is full of knowledge. So yeah, Albert, like I say, that first game, the 1-1 against Birmingham City, back in 2008, and if we sort of fast forward from then to kind of now, is there anybody that you go to games with? Is it a family affair, or do you meet up with some mates beforehand, or do you just ride solo, as Jason Derulo would say?
Now, you know what? It's a good question, man. It's a really good question. I think it's a question that should be asked more of fans, actually. So for myself, when I come a bit more self-sufficient in terms of knowing how to get tickets and going to games, more so obviously with the Emirates here, because that's when I kind of started. So I'm actually a loner in a sense, you know. Like I know a lot of people that support Arsenal, but I've kind of forged more kind of relationships, i.e. doing the YouTube side of it over the last, oh god, it'd be 3 years this June. Yeah, it's gone quick, Wes, man. Honestly, it's mad. When I think about it. So I kind of, with me, you know what it is. I'm not a drinker, Wes. So in my terms of match day going to games, I can't bother with all that, man. I'm sociable, believe it or not, but the drinking side of it, I'll get to the ground probably an hour before, meet some of the guys outside the stadium or in the concourse areas. But in terms of drinking for like 3 or 4 hours before the game, you won't see me anywhere to be seen. And after the game, you won't see me anywhere, to be honest, either. But yeah, I kind of, in terms of going to games, I go on my own primarily, but I meet people before the game, probably in the concourse and potentially after the game. But that's more so the people I've met through the Twitter world, especially Instagram, and people that, have I known anyone before them times? I do, but they're not Arsenal fans, unfortunately. And family wise, not a history mate, to be fair. Believe it or not, actually, rest in peace, mum. She was actually a Tottenham fan, which a lot of people don't know that. Yeah. So yeah, it's a mad one.
Why didn't you see sense, Albert? What's going on here?
It's funny, but yeah, it's weird. She liked Tottenham. I'm like, I know my mum's we've got family in Tottenham.
Yeah.
In previously the road that's been renamed, we won't go into it. Haringey, Black Boy Lane now is whatever it's called now. But yeah, it's a weird one. I don't really understand the link, Wes, if I'm being honest. Yeah, weird one. But yeah, she liked Tottenham. But no one in my family is really a big football person. But mainly me was the main person, really, or the only person.
Nice. And I do like asking that question. You know, I know for me personally, I've always gone to football with my dad. It's like our time. It's our like father-son kind of thing. So yeah, and when I have spoken to different people before, it can be that sort of family affair, or you know, I meet up with my mates and you know, you go with them, catch up, have a few beers or whatever, and yeah, regret life choices the next day because it goes pretty south fairly quickly. So Albert, you mentioned there about, you know, perhaps getting to the ground like an hour before kickoff, meeting some people in the concourse. Would you say that's part of your match day ritual, or have you got any superstitions, you know, like lucky pants, lucky socks, lucky top, that kind of thing? Believe it or not, Albert, I've had a few different things when interviewing people. But yeah, have you got any like rituals or superstitions?
No, you know what? I actually don't not relate to football. No, I have some not odd superstitions, but just the standard ones, that walking under ladders and the kind of thing. But none going to the game. Look, with the games, yeah, long as I've got enough clothing to keep me warm, that's the main thing. Yeah. I always say to football fans, yeah, obviously if it's the summer, it's fine. But believe me, when you go to watch your team play, take a jacket. But believe me, yeah, because there was a couple times I've gone to games, I've regretted it, man, because it was freezing. And where I sit in terms of going to Arsenal games, because I'm a Red member, so you know, you kind of, I'm not a season ticket holder, but luckily I've got a very good friend of mine who is a season ticket holder, and he's not been able to get to a lot of games this season. So the last 2-3 years, I've gone to a lot of more games than I ever would do. And I went to my first away game this season, but I'm not going to touch that because you're going to probably touch that later.
Yeah, no. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I think in terms of like rituals and superstitions, yeah, I think, you know, just going off like when I go to obviously games with my dad, you know, our match day experience, if you like, has certainly changed over the last few years in particular, as we've become sort of season ticket holders. Obviously, we were members at Tottenham, and we would have our own little thing that we would do. So we'd get in and around the ground. We'd go in. I used to be that kid that wanted to watch the warm up. So my dad used to hate it because I'd have to make sure we get in there early, like hour and a half, like hour and 15 before kickoff, that kind of thing. And then after the game, we'd always go to a particular burger van. It was called the Colonel at Tottenham. Always had to go and see him. And then sometimes we'd go to the shop, sometimes we wouldn't, or we'd go to the shop first and then go and see Colonel. And yeah, I think now looking at our match day experience in particular, you know, we're very, very lucky and fortunate where we sit. We get to, you know, we can go into the ground a good couple of hours before kickoff. You know, have a bit of food. We can have as much as we like, that kind of thing, and then we can stay afterwards. So yeah, I know our match day experience is changing, and obviously appearing on people's YouTube shows. I'm starting to meet a few more people now, and they're trying to drag me out late, keep me out late, and I'm there like, I can't, I've got work the next day, like, come on, help me out here, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's nice to hear people's sort of different match day experience with routines and superstitions, and things like that. So now, Albert, just moving on from the sort of match day experience, if you like, best game that you've been to as a Gooner. I have a feeling there might be a couple that might get a mention. But yeah, if you could pick one, what would it be?
I'd have to ring off some. I'd have to ring. They're probably going to be of recent time. I mean, I was there for Arsenal Leicester on Valentine's Day, actually.
Remember it
when they was going for the league, and actually, that funny enough, that game was meant to be on Saturday, but as football fans know, because of TV and moving games, I'm sure the Leicester fans were furious. To be honest with that, yeah. So yeah, it's a 11:30 kickoff, man. It was crazy. But yeah, obviously Leicester were going for a league title, and we needed to win to keep in the hunt. And yeah, absolute scenes at the Emirates, man. Last minute winner, Özil sticks in the free kick.
Man like Welbs.
And Welbeck scored that header. Yeah, it was that was unbelievable. Off the top of my head, but we didn't actually go and build on that victory. I thought we lost the next game. Actually, I think it was Southampton. I have to double check that. But yeah, that was one memory. I've been there for a few North London derbies where the atmosphere is incredible, by the way. And it's got even better at the Emirates, to be fair, over the last 2-3 years. But yeah, seen a good victory there. 3-1 last season at home. 3-1 this season again at home. I went to that home game when Xhaka scored a beautiful goal and Thomas Partey top bins.
Yeah.
Been there for last minute equaliser last season. We beat Wolves at home, Lacazette. And obviously very, very current, Wes. Very, very current. The Bournemouth game. I've been to football. I've watched football a long time. I've been to going football for a long time. I've never seen anything like that. That was the game was torture. Firstly, was because everything that went wrong could have gone wrong. 2-0 down, get back to 2-2. I remember Fabio Vieira boots the ball over the bar, thinking the game's done. 2-2. I'm on the stairs. I'm ready to go. Leave the stadium. I'm on the stairs. The corner comes in, and then obviously Reece Nelson, and the rest is history. Yeah, that was. I've never seen anything like that. That stadium. That was incredible. Wow. Yeah, what a moment. Incredible.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I was at the North London derby as well earlier on in this season, and stuff like that. I'm surprised the couple of 5-2s, to be fair, didn't get a mention.
I mean, only because I wasn't there. But I mean, in terms of the games, I was there. Yeah, but I could if there was games that I haven't been there. I mean, the one that sticks in my head is I can't remember the season. How we played Man United and we beat them 2-1. Henry's got a last minute header. Incredible scenes at the Emirates. There's been loads, man.
Barcelona Champions League, where does that rank for
you?
The
Arshavin goal. Wow. I mean, I wasn't even there in the stadium for that game, but even just watching that, they were a good side, man. But I think as a moment in a game, we Barcelona for that goal is amazing. Wilshere in the build up. I think Fabregas played an amazing pass. Navji's played the ball across, and Arshavin. It was mayhem. Oh my god, what a game! What a game!
Yeah, no, I think there's been some definitely, obviously, memorable games at the Emirates over the years, in particular. And yeah, I know from a Tottenham perspective, the 4-4 was quite nice.
I we might bring that up.
Yeah, I remember it so well because I was actually training. So I was training for my football team, and whenever there's a game on and I can't get to watch it or I'm getting home a bit late, I never like to know the score until I get home. But someone somewhere had told me the score, and it was, I think we were winning, and they told me that David Bentley had scored from 50 yards, and I'm there going like, right, cheers. Didn't want to know. I'm trying to concentrate here at training, but so I'd come home, and I think I was just going absolutely bonkers when Lennon stuck it in.
For a different reason.
I was running up and down my house, running up and down the stairs, jumping up and down on the sofa. my mum's telling me off because I'm jumping up and down on the sofa, and things like that. So I think the Emirates has definitely had some memorable games. Obviously, we spoke about that Barcelona game in particular, and obviously Jack Wilshere kind of announced himself on a big stage that night. So yeah, no, definitely that was one that I thought would stick out. And I remember that Henry goal as well. I think that was in the first year of the Emirates being open as well, if memory serves me right. And I think that turned out to be his last goal for you guys before he left.
I believe. Off the top of my head, roughly. But I remember he weren't the best header. He didn't score that many goals his career from heading. But yeah, amazing. That was crazy, amazing.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. Love the atmosphere at White Hart Lane for North London derbies in particular. And I know that Arsenal have obviously done a lot to drive the atmosphere at the Emirates in the last few years. Obviously, the Ashburton Army with their black tops and whatnot. I won't repeat what most Spurs fans call them. There might be kids watching. So, Albert, from the best games that you've been to the worst, the ones where you're like, oh my gosh, this is painful. Are there any that kind of spring to mind?
God, off the top of my head, I'm trying to think now. I mean, in recent times, we've got Brighton done us at the Emirates last season, funny enough. Oh God, on our so-called run to the top four, we blew that, and we won't go into that after last season. But games I've been to are really, really. I'm trying to think now.
Or ones that if you're struggling to think, ones that you've watched on telly and you're there like, oh, really?
Oh, there's been some. I mean, the ones the obvious ones that stick out as painful for Arsenal fans. I'm going back over years. So losing the, I think at the time it would it have been the EFL Cup final to Birmingham? Oh, God.
Yeah.
And I actually missed that game because I was at work and I just could not get it off. So I was listening to it on the radio, sort of thing, and Obafemi Martins, Oh my God, that was tough one, especially on Jack Wilshere, man. He didn't deserve that. Obviously the Champions League final, because I think you know what it was. It wasn't the fact that we lost to Barcelona. It's the fact that when you get to these finals, I remember at the time I had this conversation with my ex, and I remember watching it. She said, "Oh, you gonna be?" I said, "I'm gonna be honest." I said this at the time. Now I'm not sure if Arsenal are going to get back here again, and I was right because that's 06 now. We're 2023. So when you get to these finals, listen, we're playing Barcelona. They're not a bad side. They've only got Henrik Larsson and Gino the lefty and Ronaldinho. But getting the man sent off in that final, I know we scored afterwards, but you playing 10 minutes against Barcelona, and especially when the referee's got a Barcelona shirt underneath. I mean, there's no proof of that, but I remember the refereeing. Michael Owen, the final at the Millennium Stadium, Liverpool beating us. Oh my God, that was torture. But the one for me, actually, more than any game, and people think it's a Champions League final. It actually isn't. It's the Europa League final against Chelsea, 4-1. I mean, I'm not one to get really, really angry, but I was actually the day after. I'll be honest, because I just thought, nah, that's unacceptable to lose the final like that. That second half, I don't know what happened. I genuinely don't. And I was really angry just because our European record is not great, which is I've alluded to many times. 2 trophies in our European history for our club is not great. So that was a standout one by losing that Europa League final to Chelsea. That for me was the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, no, I remember watching it because that was out in Baku, wasn't it? And obviously there was a lot was made about fans trying to get out there and stuff like that. But I when you were speaking about Champions League finals, I completely agreed with you, because when Spurs were there in 2019, the same year, obviously you guys lost that Europa League final. I was there going, I've got to get there. I've just got to be there, because it's highly likely it will never happen again. Obviously we've managed to dramatically drop off a cliff since. So
I'm glad you said that. You beat me to it, mate.
Chances of us getting there, I think I've got more hope of winning the lottery in the coming years. So when you get to those moments, and it felt like from a Spurs perspective, like I remember sort of saying to my dad afterwards, after the full-time whistle went, obviously every Spurs fan was gutted, but I just felt like that was it. It was like the pinnacle for us, and it's like to lose it was really gutting.
And where's the thing is, yeah, this kind of, I think Arsenal fans recently speak a lot about that. They're very, how can I put it? They're very dismissive about Europe, and I don't sign up to that. And I'll tell you why. Because I mean, I haven't even mentioned two other finals we lost. We lost to Galatasaray in the UEFA Cup final back then on penalties. We lost the final in '95 to Zaragoza, 9 from the halfway line.
Naeem, yeah.
Song, yeah. You know, we've lost a lot of finals, man. And I'm sorry, but I look at the likes of Chelsea and Liverpool and Man United, who have won multiple European trophies in the last 25 years. As an Arsenal fan, I want some of that. So, you know, it was as painful as it, you know, yes, we're going for the league, I get it, but for me, I'm a believer. I think you take European competition seriously and don't just dismiss it the way some Arsenal fans do. I just don't get it.
Well, for us, any trophy wouldn't go amiss. To be fair, at the minute, it's been a long time. But you know, like I say, hopefully we will get there one day. But I know, like, just on that trophy point though, like people always try and badger me with it, and I'm there like, right, well, I've seen us win 2 League Cups, right? That's all I got. Yeah. So the fact that we don't win a trophy in season for me is just normal. I'm like used to it. So it's almost like those 2 League Cup wins. They're the bonuses. They're the anomalies, if you like. You know, in terms of a season. So yeah, when people go to, "No, you haven't won anything," I'm there like, well, I know we haven't. I'm used to it. Like, it's just another season, really. But I understand, you know, why people get frustrated, because you want to see your team do well. And I think certainly for Spurs over the last few years, we've had some good opportunities and just not really taking them, and stuff like that. So that's when it becomes really frustrating. But Albert, I know you would have seen TV and live some fantastic players for wearing the red and white and burgundy at times of Arsenal. But if you could give me your favourite all-time Arsenal player and give us a reason why, who would that be?
This shouldn't be a surprise to any, but there's a few candidates. Trust me. DB10 man, unbelievable.
Yeah.
To me, technically one of the best players that played at Arsenal, if I'm being honest. But it has to be Ian Wright, man. You know, it's quite funny actually, because when we signed him, I wouldn't say Arsenal fans were kind of like, Ian Wright even said it like, do we really need him? I'm like, no. I'm like, even that's what they thought. £2.5 million we've got him from Crystal Palace, man. And I think for anyone that wasn't lucky enough to see him play when he was playing, whether you go to games live or on television, whatever, go back and watch Premier League 100 goals or Premier League goals with Ian Wright. This guy was a serious striker, man. It was just unfortunate in terms of playing for England that you had the likes of Fowler, Ferdinand, Shearer ahead of it. It's very difficult for him to get as more caps than he got. Obviously sharing them as well. But yeah, Ian Wright was a different class, man. Like, we love him now, obviously, even now with the media, man. This guy's hilarious, man. But yeah, his ability to score goals instinctively was insane. Some of the goals he scored was amazing. Obviously, he went to my secondary school, not when it was called what it was called then, but that's a long time ago now. But yeah, Wrighty, we love him, man. Like, he's the one for me. If I'm gonna pick one person, yeah, he's done some amazing documentaries talking about his life and being very, very personal about it. And I think even some football fans who don't support Arsenal, right? I think even deep down, they do really like him, to be fair.
No, I think Wright is one of those people that, especially now he's a pundit, like, you just can't hate. I think his enthusiasm and his passion, he is literally a fan. And he is literally a fan watching football, and he will say exactly what he feels, but it's almost like, I can relate to that. I see where Wrighty's coming from on that one. And I know he had a big influence on a player that I absolutely loved at Tottenham in Jermaine Defoe, and that was his hero. And Defoe for me was one of the most naturally born, finishers that I've ever seen, wearing a Spurs shirt. So thanks to Wrighty.
Yeah, him and Robbie Fowler, man, insane finishers. Defoe is really good, man. I'm very underrated, I think, personally.
Yeah, no, and I absolutely love JD. I think, like, for me, and people raise their eyebrows when I say this, but he gets in my all-time team ahead of Sir Harold Edward Kane.
Wow.
Defoe is in there. I think there's a few more up for debate, but JD is 100% in there.
Yeah, no, it's a good shout, Wes. It is because I remember seeing a lot of Jermaine Defoe, man. That guy could finish. I think at the time when he was on loan at Bournemouth. I can't remember what record he broke. Was it like he scored 10 in 10, is it, or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, 10 in 10.
At any level, that's not by accident that you do that.
Mm.
That's not by accident that you do that.
No, definitely.
The guy knew how to finish, man.
Yeah. Another comment as well. Love Wrighty.
All right.
He doesn't. So from all time, your GOAT, Ian Wright, greatest of all time for you. Who is your current favourite player in this Arsenal team, which has a lot of players who are becoming likable, shall we say? I've got a feeling I know the answer to this one, but yeah, just give us a reason.
Yeah, it's a very easy one for me. There's a lot of choices at Arsenal, but there's one in particular. He even scored today as we talk, Wes, in the England game. A beautiful goal. But yeah, Bukayo Saka, insane. Said this on my channel, and I'll keep on saying it until I'm blue in the face. When youngsters and academy kids come into the first team, what you want is an opportunity. Well, unless you play for Chelsea, but yeah, it's another story. Yeah. But I must admit, even fair play to Emery, he gave him his kind of first start, and he's played well in the struggling side. He's actually a lot better than I thought he'd be, and that's the biggest compliment I can pay him. And he's only 21, and he's not going to hit his peak for another 6 or 7 years. And he's already performing at elite level, and he has done in the struggling side. And he's got England Player of the Year last year. He's done it at European level and at the World Cup. We have a phobia in this country, Wes, and it's a bad one when it comes to associating world class with English players. Mm-hmm. Any club in the country, you see it on the socials. He's not world class, man. He's overrated, man. I've heard it with so many English players in the last 20, 25 years. Till it comes out my ears. But Saka he's incredible, and the thing that he needed to improve for me, watching him live and watching him on TV, whatever, is his finishing. My word, he's done that. I mean, he got double figures last season. He's already in double figures this season for goals and assists. He's only playing in the Premier League that's done it. Incredible ceiling. Even when he's not playing well, he scores and assists. I mean, he got the assist for the first goal today.
Yeah.
With Sir Edward Kane. So I think even a lot of rival fans, I think that's the best way to gauge it, actually. Who are willing to, I don't know if concede's the right way, but just cut the BS, right? Yeah. The sort of the ridicule and the banter goes over my head. I'm too old to listen to some people talk absolute nonsense. Like he is what he is, and he is world class. He doesn't need to prove anything because he's been doing it for 2-3 years. Mm-hmm. So for me, he's an obvious to keep him fit, and he's going to be pivotal to the end of the season.
Yeah, no, and I think what I have been impressed with Saka certainly this season is obviously he's had a lot of work and done a lot of work on the training pitch, but kind of being in the right place at the right time and being a bit more direct. I think he's always had that ability to do so, but he wouldn't necessarily do it. Yeah. So and I think wingers in particular now, obviously, a lot of them play on their inverted, so they play on the opposite side to their strong foot. And I think a lot of wingers find it easy to like square a fullback up and then, pop it back or just pop it inside. Whereas I think Saka's got this brilliant ability now to go both ways, and he's becoming devastating. He's got the pace to burn you in a foot race. He can dip inside and curl one, a little bit like what people might have seen in the England game earlier today. And I think he's starting to add different types of finishes to his game. So
100%.
I think as you mentioned, his ceiling is so high, and he can achieve almost what he wants.
And especially Wes as well. Like, what I mean, we know what happened at the Euros, and to come back from that, he's taken big penalties for Arsenal. Actually, I think he scored against Spurs, Chelsea. Is it Liverpool and United over the last couple? If I have to double check that, but he scored big penalties for Arsenal. Like, he's a big game player, and he's added a little bit more of a not nasty streak. I won't say a DB10 because Dennis, listen, he knew how to put his foot in. He was a rascal. As good a player as he was, this guy was a piece of work. Trust me, man. Yeah. You speak to Arsenal players or opposing defenders, but yeah, Saka, especially with what happened at the Euros, and to come back even stronger. Just exceptional, man. Exceptional talent.
Yeah, no, definitely. And now, but I've got a feeling I might know the answer to this next question. The most memorable moment for you supporting Arsenal.
I mean, the obvious one. I was very young, like I said, 88, 89. But for me, I know we've done the Invincibles, but actually, I've gone on record saying this. My actual favorite season with Arsenal was 97, 98.
Okay.
Yep. I think United were at the time 7 points ahead, I think, but we had about 3 or 4 games in hand. But we went on an unbelievable run, man. And we went to Old Trafford and beat them 1-0 over Mars, and that picture, that famous video of the fan after
Yeah.
the curly hair, shaking and going like crazy, like he's been electrocuted. But for me, that's my favorite season because some of the football we played, and I don't think it gets talked about enough because we've done the double that season as well. Some of the football we played that season was champagne football. And I don't say that lightly, considering we had the Invincibles, but 97, 98 was incredible. I remember Ray Parlour. Yeah, I know people talk about the old guy, the drinking thing off the pitch, but I've heard the stories, believe me. But that season he was the best right-sided player in the country by a country mile. He was exceptional, Ray Parlour. But listen, like Vieira came, I think that's Vieira's second season, I think it was. Right, he was still there towards the back of his career. Anelka emerged, who just was frightening.
Yeah.
I mean, the pace was, my God, man. Petit, Overmars.
And his pace as well, by the way.
Yeah, and with him, it was control pace Overmars. So it was even worse for defenders. But that season for me, 97, 98 was my favorite season, if I'm being honest. Which might surprise people, but it is what it is.
It surprised me 100% because, as you lot like to remind us Spurs fans, I'm going to put it this way: you were crowned champions.
Yeah,
at White Hart Lane, like you say and sing every 5 minutes. So talk to me about that kind of feeling from a fan to basically see your team being crowned champions at the home of your biggest rivals.
It was fantastic, and it still is. In the short of it, but no, that season was interesting because I've seen a lot of documentaries on Retalking, and when Wenger said to them like we could go out beat it all season, they looked at the manager like he was crazy. But only Arsene Wenger knew. People go on, you know what makes me laugh is when people search for things to try and knock Arsenal's Invincibles. They go, you drew a lot of games. I'm like, are you actually serious when you come out your mouth and say that? So because we drew a lot of games that season, that doesn't make our title winning unbeaten run throughout the season? Like, I mean, come on, like fans make me laugh. But I remember that season well with Wes because obviously we was doing well in the domestic cups as well. Because actually that season in the League Cup, I don't know how we still lost over 2 legs to Middlesbrough, but we did in the semi-finals. The FA Cup semi-final, we lost to who did we lose? No, I can't remember now. It might have been United, actually. I think it was United. I'll have to double check it, Les. I have to quickly double check that. But in that season, we played Chelsea in the Champions League, and we got done over 2 legs. So we had a period where we went out of a few competitions. It's like, oh God, we've got the league to concentrate on. We're going to bounce back after losing to Chelsea in the Champions League. And we did. I remember we played Liverpool at home, and we went to pot. I think we 2-0 down, but we come back and won 4-2 when Henry done a craziness that day when he just ripped Liverpool to pieces, man. But yeah, listen, we that don't get me wrong. I think some fans, I just think for clickbait reasons, disrespect it a bit. I'm like, how can you like seriously? But yeah, listen, that was incredible, and obviously to win the league at Yogra. The only thing that was a shame here was I think we went 2-0 up in that game, and you paid it back to 2-2. But other than that, we won the league. Listen, I see some great things as an Arsenal fan, man. To win the league at 3 major grounds in my lifetime: Anfield, OT, and White Hart Lane. Insane.
Yeah. Cheers for that. Moving on, very, very swiftly, from the most memorable to the lowest of the lows, supporting Arsenal. Talk to me about that and what that would be for you.
I mean, like I said, I was pretty angry after the Europa League final. I remember that final actually losing to Zaragoza in 95. That was painful. It was actually a painful season because that season we came 12th in the Premier League in 94, 95. That's the year that Graham went and the whole, the brown envelopes thing. And I love Gorgeous George, man. Listen, I love Wenger, but George Graham was my manager personally because he built some amazing foundations. You know what I mean? The famous back five and whatever. But yeah, that final against Zaragoza was painful. It doesn't get talked about a lot because we lost, obviously. But the way to lose that game the way we did, man, I think we was 1-0 down, got back to 1-1 very late on, and that goal comes out of nowhere. And when that goal's gone in, the way the game's gone, the game's done. We ain't gonna get the ball back on halfway line and go and score. The game's done, and that was hard, man. Because David Seaman, in the semi-final, I remember it like, Wes, I'll give you a bit of a file acknowledge it, but we played Sampdoria in the semi-final. Listen, this was a serious Sampdoria side, by the way. I think Mancini was still playing then. Lombardo, them guys.
Mm-hmm.
And in the penalty shootout, Seaman saved 3 penalties, man, to get us to the final in the shootout. Yeah, incredible saves, by the way. If anybody's out there, Google it. Trust me, it's amazing. But yeah, to get done the way it done, man, from the halfway line, tough. When obviously the year before, I remember us winning our last European trophy in 94 in Copenhagen against a top Parma side. So to not defend the trophy was disappointing, man. And obviously the fight, we lost to Galatasaray in penalties. So yeah, listen, all the European final defeats, for me, we've lost some domestic finals, don't get me wrong, but they're the more painful ones, man, because I think when you win European trophies, it elevates your club's level at European level.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And we haven't done it enough. That's the issue I have.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that last statement. But Naeem from the halfway line, and
technically, it was in his own half, but it was kind of halfway line, but it wasn't.
I know it's been remixed amongst Spurs fans as now Pedro from the halfway line as a reference to Pedro Gonçalves from Sporting Lisbon a couple of weeks ago.
Of course,
So Albert, I think you've given us a little bit of a hint with your answer on that last question for the next question.
Go on, bro.
Best manager then of your lifetime, who would that be? Yeah,
for people, it's not Arsene Wenger. As much as I like, listen, he should get a statue, a stand in the stadium, whatever you want to give him to him, not a problem. But for me, it's Gorgeous George, man. That's what I call him. He won you boys a trophy as well.
Don't, because that's painful. Painful. Oh my God. I remember those times. I was only young, but I remember it. Oh my God.
Yeah. But George, man. Anyone remembers the famous team talk at the training ground about, the media and the certain people being against us. And it is true. It's very true. It's been more prevalent this season, but with certain media outlets that they just don't like Arsenal. And if their worst nightmare is Arsenal winning this league, they're not going to come out and say it, obviously, because, well, they probably get sacked. But I think for me, George Graham, 100%. And people got to bear in mind, and this is very relevant, Wes, is that I see it a lot on the social medias in terms of when Arsenal get linked with certain players. And they're very dismissive, particularly if they're English. Or, the players that play within the Premier League, they want the sexy names and whatever. If you remember your club's history as I do, our famous back, we bought people like Nigel Winterburn from Wimbledon. Mm-hmm. We got Lee Dixon from Stoke. George Graham we got from Millwall as a manager. Arsene Wenger, yes, he'd managed at Monaco, but we got him from Nagoya Grampus 8 in the Japanese J League. Arsenal fans have got very short memories, Wes. Mm-hmm. So I don't know where the snobbery comes from, because if you know your stuff, then you know that, we've bought some players from clubs that are not fashionable over 20, 30 years, maybe longer. But yeah, George Graham for me, man. Last manager to win an European trophy. Won the double as a player for Arsenal, and then subsequently won the league title at Anfield. He was, our manager. So he's done some amazing things. Won the last Arsenal manager won the League Cup. Like, people forget this. George done well.
Wow.
Like, 93 was the last time he won the League Cup. It's a long time. So that's what I'm saying. Arsenal fans are very dismissive, and I'm like, well, when you look at our nearest rivals and you talk about who you want to compete with, They take the domestic cup seriously. Go look at Chelsea, Man City's record, and Liverpool's. But yeah, George for me, George Graham, man, Scottish Braveheart, loved him, man. Actually was at the ground. Actually was at the last game when we played. I went to Palace at home, and he came out with Bob Wilson and Frank McClintock because they was part of the 1970-71 double team. So yeah, gorgeous George for me, man. Amazing. Yes, the thing, the 1-0 to the Arsenal and boring Arsenal. But listen, he was manager when, where's it, 91, we lost one league game to Chelsea away. We conceded 17 goals that season. 17.
Frightening.
Our defending was amazing. Like Adams, Bold, Winterburn, Seaman, Lukic, and David Seaman. Yeah, George laid the foundation, man. Amazing. He should get a statue outside the stadium. He should.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to go into too much detail about what he did at Spurs because, like I said, that was painful. I remember, I think we signed, it was that bad. We had Andy Booth on loan from Huddersfield, and every Spurs fan was like, firstly, who? Secondly, why are we signing a player on loan from a team that's like League One equivalent?
God, even I remember Andy Booth, man. Jeez.
Yeah, it was. I mean, yeah,
he did pick up in that final. Was it Tranmere or Leicester?
We played Leicester in '99 and beat them. Alan Nilsson, I think. After
yes, the Nilsson squad. Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, diving header. That was obviously the first sort of trophy that I remember being a Spurs fan. But yeah, I think for George, it was. I think the thing that got us as fans with George was we had Mr. Ginola. C'est magnifique. That's entrance fee. That was Mr. Ginola entrance fee because the other 10 were that bad. He was the only one from a Spurs fan's perspective that was worth going to watch. And you build a team when you have a player like that. You build a team around him. And he kind of binned him off, and we were all like, "Hold on a minute." He's ex-Arsenal anyway, so that didn't go down well. He then sells our best player. And yeah, it was just like I remember like the midfield of Tim Sherwood and Stefan Freund.
Oh my God.
And you're looking at it going, that is just so like that is just hard working. There's no source, there's no flex, you know what I mean? There's nothing there. Don't get me wrong. Stefan Freund is a club legend. Because we always wanted him to score and he never did. You know, but yeah, it was a tough watch.
Oh God.
With George.
I do know that. I do. I know. I do.
But yeah, I don't even know what was going through the board's mind at the time. I think we had Alan Sugar at the helm, but yeah, to appoint an ex-Arsenal manager but it's. I mean, don't get me wrong. We've had a few ex-Chelsea and Spurs, and Chelsea don't get on, but like. When you get somebody that is so synonymous with your arch rivals, it's like, what on earth is going on here? Like, I know we'd had a few sticky seasons where we were finishing like lower mid-table, and you think, it's a bit like, you know how a team is now towards the bottom end of the Premier League, you get calls for a Sean Dyche, a Sam Allardyce, those types of managers. I think that's what happened with Spurs, and we've just gone, so that we'll get him in just to try and, you know, keep us solid and keep us up, and then we'll build from there. But it just never worked out.
He weren't worse than Christian Gross, though, was he?
I don't remember Christian Gross.
Speak to your dad, man.
Yeah. I mean, I've watched enough Premier League years to know that. With Christian Gross, it wasn't great.
No, it wasn't.
With the tube ticket and all of that kind of nonsense.
I remember that. Oh my God.
I don't. Luckily for me, I don't remember that era, which was quite nice. But Albert, from the best in Mr. Graham to the worst Arsenal manager, who would you say? Usually when I ask this question, right, they've got a few names to go off, but obviously we know
we ain't got that many. So I know that when I speak, because this is obviously listen, it's not been all great at Arsenal. This is before my time though. I mean, people talk about Terry Neill in the 80s. I heard that was awful. I mean, I know it was bad with Arteta at one point where he was very lucky to be in a job, but I mean, I've been lucky. I mean, if you're going to talk about worst managers, then I guess it would probably be Unai Emery. But then that's another subject because people say we never got backed, and I get it. And, you know, he got ridiculed for his English, which is I didn't agree with to personally by some of the Arsenal fans. They still do it now. I'm like, he doesn't even manage us now. Why are you doing that? But so yeah, we don't have that many because obviously Wenger was there for a long time, and I'm fortunate enough to remember Arsenal before Arsene Wenger. So, and yeah, obviously Emery and Arteta. So Arteta's doing all right, isn't he? He's got an FA Cup already in his bag, and hopefully he'll have another one. But so yeah, probably Unai Emery, and that's probably not even that bad. He's only there like a season and a bit.
Yeah. I think 18 months roughly. Yeah. Emery lasted at Arsenal.
But the way we gave up that top four, man, when Emery made them dreadful team changes that home game against Crystal Palace, the Arsenal fans won't forgive him, man.
Yeah, no, but yeah, like you say, not too many to kind of go off. So yeah, it's Unai Emery, but there's a bit of context behind it. But yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And Albert, obviously, you mentioned earlier on that you didn't get to go to Highbury.
No,
Highbury the library, as most fans used to call it.
Are you mad? No, not from what I've been told, man.
But your favourite ground that you've been to, excluding the Emirates, I'm not 100% sure if you've been on many sort of away days with Arsenal, or you've been to visit many grounds in your time as a fan.
It's a very good question, mate. Because like I said, I didn't really growing up have a lot of people that could take me to the home games, let alone the bloody away games. But getting tickets for an Arsenal away game, if you speak to most Arsenal fans, even with good connections, which I do have, is hard. If you're trying to get away tickets to go to London games, there's more chance of me becoming the next Chancellor of the Exchequer, and I'm being deadly serious about that. But luckily, Wes, this season, thanks to my good friend, one ground I did always want to go to. There was two. There's three. Selhurst Park, which I knew wasn't going to happen, because the atmosphere is insane there. Leicester Stadium, insane atmosphere again, and also Villa Park. So luckily, that came about, and I went. First Arsenal away day, it's insane, and obviously you know how that game went against Villa this season. Again, scenes again. I mean, we scored a few last-minute winners, but I mean, and you got to bear in mind as well, like that game we went to, that game against Villa, we was on a little mini blip, and to win that game the way we won it with that Jorginho goal, or also Emi Martinez's diving header. It was incredible. Yeah, away days are fantastic, man. And I haven't been to one now. I see what people mean about away days, and Arsenal fans talking about away games. Yeah, it's great atmosphere. Meet many more fans up and down the country, and I was fortunate, to be honest, because I don't think everybody could have got to an away game at 12:30 in Birmingham from London. It happens. Like, even we got Newcastle coming up, for example. I'm not being funny, like, it's a long journey is already.
Yeah,
you would have to probably take a couple of days off. I had a chance to go, actually, but I think they've moved the game to a Sunday now. I believe Sky Sports have got it on a Sunday at 4:30, which is a bit better for fans, but you still got to come over. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, Villa Ground is one ground I always want to go to, Wes, and I got my dream to go. And for Arsenal to win the game the way they've done, took a picture of the Doug Ellis stand, rest in peace, Doug Ellis. Win the game 4-2. I can't complain about what a day.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I remember watching that game. I had a friend up from London who is a gooner. First to say, he was dancing around the front room as you guys were winning that game and things like that. Is there any grounds though, Albert? I know you mentioned a couple, but is there any other that are sort of on your bucket list and on your tick list that you would like to go to?
Again, like I said, London-wise, Selhurst Park, definitely. I'd love to go there, and it's probably easy for me to get there and get home as well. So, that's just me being the lazy part of me. But I'll tell you one ground I would like to go. I'll try and get this seat. Hopefully, if I can, but it's going to be impossible because it's Arsenal's last away game of the season. Is Nottingham Forest away, City ground. Yeah, so synonymous ground, Wes, man. Old Cloughie, Brian Clough.
Yeah.
Old Big Ed. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully, yeah. But I would say them Tottenham Stadium. Listen, that will come one day, man. I'm not in a rush to get there. But it's a very big stadium of what's not here.
Yes, yeah, it's a ground that can also swallow you up if you're not performing the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But no, I was fortunate enough to go to the City Ground earlier on this season,
Oh,
and it was one that again wanted to go to. Obviously, Forest, massive football club,
yeah.
rich footballing history. Obviously, champions of Europe a couple of times. Had a bit of banter about that with the fans, and things like that. And yeah, it strikes. It was a ground that struck me as a sort of old school traditional football
Yeah.
ground, and you certainly got that feel sort of in and around it. I think the probably the scariest bit for me was actually the fact of how close Notts County's ground was and Trent
Yeah, it's
Bridge.
mad.
Like
Mad.
it's literally, so for those that don't know, you've almost got Nottingham Forest's ground here, and then over the River Trent you've got Notts County's ground, but then behind the City ground is Trent Bridge.
Trent
It's
Bridge, yeah.
literally all in one place,
Yeah.
which I quite like to a certain degree because it's easy to police. You know where everything is, and everything else. But yeah, it was one of those grounds that I think you've always sort of seen it on TV and would love to go to. And yeah, like I say, I was fortunate enough to go. So Albert, then from your favourite grounds and sort of the ones that are on your bucket list, is there any grounds that you haven't particularly enjoyed apart from the Emirates, or any grounds that you seriously just want to avoid? Like if anybody comes up with a ticket last minute, you're going, nah, I'm busy, I'm washing my hair or something.
There is one ground I could say, but I actually do want to go there. Whereas I always said this promise, right? Because they're doing actually quite well in the championship this season. So there is a distinct possibility they could come up, and I think this would terrify the Metropolitan Police, and that's Millwall.
Okay.
Because I live in Millwall territory, so I could walk to the ground in 10-15 minutes.
Nice.
And I said to some of my Arsenal connections, right? People, I think I'm crazy. Why would you want to go Millwall away? But I've grown up around the area, around the old den, the days of. Trust me, they used to have some hard men play football like Keith Stevens and Terry. Ask your dad about Terry Hurlock, and he'd be like, "Yeah, man, this guy, this guy was a piece of work." But yeah, man. If I said to people already, get me that away ticket for if Millwall ever do come up, maybe not this season, whatever. They've got the right manager though in Guy Rowett. I think he's a very good manager, so they've got a chance. But get me that away ticket, man. I'm there, and I can get home safely.
Yeah. But is there any that you want to completely avoid at all costs?
Oh,
grounds that don't appeal to you that you think, oh, they're a massive dive. Get me out of here.
I'm trying to think. Is there any? No, there's no grounds like there's no grounds like I've heard from speaking to Arsenal fans in terms of, I guess, their view from watching the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like a perfect example is Newcastle away.
Yeah,
I mean, you might as well watch a game from a plane because you're so you're so high up. Like it's crazy. I'm thinking. One of the views someone sent me one time, they went to Burnley away.
Yeah.
It's like they're watching the game through a letterbox. It was crazy. I'm thinking that's a bad view, man.
Oh, don't say that. I love Burnley away. I absolutely love. No, seriously, I love Turf Moor. I was actually gutted that they went down because it's an away day that me and my dad absolutely love. Like I spent a bit of time up in Burnley at university, and was fortunate enough to go to quite a lot of Burnley games around that time when we had George Boyd, the winner against City, all of that stuff, and then the championship season when they went half a season unbeaten. And just absolutely love Turf Moor. So please don't say that because I love Turf.
But I mean, I'm only going by what I know. So many Arsenal fans that go home and away, and they're like, and sometimes when they put up pictures of where they're sitting, I'm like, you might as well stay at home, man, or just watch it on the stream because you can't see anything.
Yeah.
Really, I think even one time we I don't know where the Arsenal fans where they get tickets when they go to watch at Selhurst Park, but if you don't get a good view, man, you're not going to get a good view of the game if you sit where some of the seats I've seen people sit. I'm like, wow, mad.
Yeah, and we just had a comment here as well. Have you not seen the West Ham away stand?
I've been to that. I've been to West Ham, but that was when I went to the Athletics World Championships. But
so you had a good view, basically.
Yeah, Arsenal fans have said to me like a lot of them are not going to go to the West Ham game. They said, you know what, the view it's ridiculous. Like you might not go.
Yeah, I've been a couple of times. I've been quite fortunate. I've been in the lower tier, but trying to see something the other side, you got absolutely no hope. You might as well watch a game in Westfield. To be fair, you might get a better view. To be honest, it's just not a football ground.
No, it's not. That's the problem.
unfortunately. Albert, last one before we got a couple of questions that we'll go into in terms of a little Q&A. But your hopes, not only for this season, but then for next season as well, because obviously we are coming towards the end of the current season. What are you hoping for as an Arsenal man?
Well, what a question. Well, hopefully they'll get their first league title since 2004. That's the aim. 10 cup finals to go, as we've been told. Apparently City are going to go on this amazing run. That's what I keep getting told for the last month, 6 weeks, maybe. It's funny, Wes, because I look at the league, and if you go through relegation, qualification for Europe, title race, everybody is playing for something. So City has still got to go to Brentford, I believe. They still got to go to Fulham. They still got to go to Brighton. Are they going to win them? I don't know. So yeah, Arsenal hopefully will get the league title done this season. But again, I think for Arsenal the crucial thing is recruitment and getting it 100% right. And yes, that may be a bit too much to ask for, but it's not, because we can't keep doing it 90% right and 80% right. Get it all right. Get the players out that you need to get out. Firstly, and recruit some money. We're not going to recruit money like City have done with players like Sane and Jesus and Zinchenko. We just don't have players like that at the club. But yeah, get the right players in, particularly centrally midfield. And next season, I think what Arsenal going to have to do in Europe, and I think Arsenal fans need to wake up and smell the coffee a little bit, is we're going to have to take baby steps. Because if you look at Arsenal during the Europa League campaigns in recent years, even when Wenger was there, we've made one final, semi-final. One final, two semi-finals, sorry. And that's Europa League, no disrespect to the teams that won it. So when we're going in the Champions League against better teams, we're going to have to restart again. It's like learning to walk. We're going to have to. We've been at it for 7 years. You know, we're not going to. There are teams that can turn us over in group stages. Forget about knockout football. So Arsenal going to have to rejig baby steps in terms of how we approach Europe. But recruitment again is the key thing for me. There's 3 players I want in particular, but we'll see if we get them.
Who are they? Go
on. The Rice one's interesting because I didn't see that coming. And Wes, I'll be honest, I'll be surprised if we get him. Not because we can't get him, but he's someone I want. But I love Declan Rice. I don't care what anyone tells me.
Yeah,
I'd drive to West, whatever part of East London to bring him to Arsenal. I love Declan Rice. I just think he's brilliant. Wilfred Ndoncho
from Leeds.
Yeah, love him. I think he's fantastic. And there was a third player, Wes, but I don't think Arsenal will buy a striker next season. But if I was to go and get one, I'd all day long go and get Ivan Toney.
Ice cold Ivan, as I like to call him.
100% go and get him. I've seen enough now of him in this league over 2 years. 100% yes.
Not bad, and he's always good for a pen as well.
Yes, and he's tall. He's physical as well. We haven't got that.
Yeah, no, I think he'd definitely add a different dimension, and I think Arsenal would, you know, when you are under a little bit of pressure, you do have that ability then to go long, and he will, you know, get his body in between players and just ruffle up a few defenses. I think that's why I think loads of Spurs fans have taken to Richarlison, because he does exactly that. He runs about a little bit, really, and as fans we've just got behind it. So yeah, no, I like your choices. I like your thinking. Definitely. So got a couple of questions in the comments here. One here: any win against Spurs is beautiful, but what winning game is your favourite? And an apology to myself as well. So what winning game? So I'm going to put it this way: is it sweeter beating Spurs or Chelsea or Man United, as sort of 3 examples for you?
For me, it's Liverpool.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very personal for me with them. No, it is. I know some all right Liverpool fans, but I don't know too many. And I think I'll tell you what it is for me was what it really I just turned me off some of them a little bit, or maybe Liverpool as a club a little bit, tiny bit. But when they was going for league in 13-14, Mate, it was they was celebrating before the end of the season. They was rolling over teams within the first 20 minutes, and Sterling, Sturridge, and Suarez, and no one can't touch him, Gerrard, and they was having parties. They were celebrating before. I said to some of them, I said, listen, you ain't won the Premier League since you turned to the Premier League. You have to go back to the old first division before you won a league. I said, just calm yourself down. And I tried to warn them. I tried to tell some of them at the time. They didn't listen. And obviously the Gerrard slip. And so I think some Liverpool fans have learned from that. I think they've humbled themselves a little bit, but I don't think some of them have. But yeah, so when we beat them at the Emirates this season, and I said to them, we need to beat them. And I think we'll beat them. I think it'll be tight, but we'll beat them. That was massive because even at that point of the season, people were like, oh yeah, Arsenal started well, but Liverpool take care of business as usual. No, I generally think people thought that. Because we kept getting told Arsenal haven't played anyone yet. Arsenal haven't beaten anybody yet. And we beat them and we deserve to beat them. And yeah, that for me was massive and it's personal for me, man. So when we beat them, I was like, yes, come on, boys.
Nice. Yeah, and an interesting one, and an interesting club as well for an Arsenal fan to say, Liverpool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, anyway, on to the next question. Did you trust the process? Or was you Arteta out?
Yeah, I'm quite cool with this question, man. I wasn't ever. If people see my content in the way I am, it's very rare you see me get into Twitter spats or arguments with people because I have my opinion. But I said at the time, I think he was very fortunate to still be at Arsenal because he'd been at any other top club. On the run of form that he was in, he would have been sacked, and rightly so, he would have been sacked. But the Arsenal board backed him, and they saw something in him in the first time round he went for the job, and obviously the second time round he got it. So the process thing is a word that comes up so many times. It's like an Americanism, not a process. But I think even if you trusted the process and the manager, I was like, look, he's my manager. I'll get behind him. You know, I'll criticize him when I think it's right, and I'll praise him when he deserves it, and he absolutely deserves the praise. The turnaround from last season was crazy. I think I saw the comparison after 28 games in the last 3 seasons: 10th, 5th, and 1st. If that's not progress, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I think, like you say, at that time, it was very much, are Arsenal going to stick? Are they going to twist? And when they didn't twist, I think loads of people were like, strange. Okay, we'll see how this sort of pans out. But I think, you know, full credit where it's due. I think full credit to Arteta.
And I think, and to add to that quickly, I think the Amazon documentary was interesting. And I also thought the Monday Night Football one-off special with Carragher was brilliant. It's a brilliant insight into Mikel Arteta.
Yeah.
And to the Arsenal fans there was a lot of Arsenal fans that were really against him, man, from the outset. And they went so far in on him that it doesn't matter what he could have done. They're just not going to turn. But that's just an ego thing. I don't really interact with people like that. But yeah, amazing turnaround. No one saw this coming, and so be it. Let it happen. Let it continue.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I actually watched the Amazon Prime documentary. I wanted to kind of see what it would be like in comparison to the Tottenham one. And yeah, again, really, really good watch. And I think the key difference, so to speak, between our two football clubs is that your manager's been backed not only with players coming in, but players going out the door.
Yes.
Whereas I think the last couple of managers at Tottenham haven't been backed in terms of players going out the door. And that's made life really, really difficult because I think, you know, you're looking at it. I think we all looked at it from that outside looking in and going, why is he getting rid of Aubameyang? Like, you know, captain, brought a lot to the club as well. Arsenal fans loved him because, you know, he had the bling, he had a bit of sauce, bit of drip. Do you know what I mean? And I think Arsenal fans always take to that. And yeah, to kind of get rid of him was a massive shock. But you can understand the reasons why, I think, from that Amazon documentary.
Yeah, and Moz, you make a good point because, I mean, this is the problem with some Arsenal fans. When you idolize the players more than the club, that's an issue for me. And it's happened too many times at Arsenal. Ozil and Aubameyang are the two obvious ones. And anybody who watched the documentary would have seen how it unfolded was when Edu's in the office with Richard Garlick.
Yeah.
And the guys come into the room and said, have you seen what's happened? Like the guys got from Mars on the airport.
Yeah.
And Richard Garlick said to Edu, where's he supposed to be? He said, I was supposed to be at training. So, I mean, Arsenal fans, listen, yes, you love Aubameyang, you've done fantastic things for us, but I mean, come on, man. Like, you can't have a guy the manager for that.
No, I don't think you can. But it was just quite obviously Aubameyang, high profile name, like I say, captain, idolised by fans. It was a big call, and I think that showed real solidarity. I think within the football club at Arsenal at the time, where they've gone, no, we're backing our manager and we're sticking with our manager, because I think a lot of people would have probably thought, well, Arteta's young, he's inexperienced. Aubameyang is, a bit of a poster boy for Arsenal, and they've got to keep hold of him and things like that. So it could have gone either way, I think. But the way it has turned out, obviously for you guys, has been fantastic. But Albert, unfortunately, time is running out for us, my friend. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you with us. But just let everybody know where they can find you doing your thing. Yes,
people, you can find me here, there, and everywhere. I've got my own channel, obviously, Albert JTV. I've been lucky enough to appear on some of the bigger Arsenal channels because apparently they like what I say sometimes. It's incredible. But I actually have a particular content series which is obviously football related, but it's quite broad, and I can get people on from different fields. And got a show coming up on Tuesday called Life Stories, episode 19. So yeah, looking forward to that. We've got some very, very interesting guests coming on, and hopefully, Wes, this week, if not next week, I'll have another special guest coming on for my weekly surgery show.
Nice. Yeah.
Can't reveal yet.
Can't reveal yet. The lips are tightly sealed. But guys, look, Arsenal fans, football community, as Albert likes to say,
yes,
please check him out because he does some unbelievably good content, I have to say. As jealous as it may seem, him being an Arsenal fan. But for now, Albert, thank you once again for joining us.
No worries, man.
Take care, and we will catch you soon.
Yeah, no worries, man.